Good morning everybody, welcome to Stockradar Stocks on the Move for another week. Today's date is the 16th of October 2025. My name is Richard Lee and I manage the stockradar.com.au website for you. Well, talk about riding the wave today, the how-to. There's been an explosion of love for the miners at the moment. A lot of stocks going up now on the smell of an oily rag, especially in that rare earth sector, so be very careful, they'll come down as quickly as they go up. I tend to stick to my knitting in the top ASX 200 stocks, where stocks tend to have a little bit more substance, a little bit more safety. That doesn't matter. It still means they can come down as well as go up. So we've got to talk about how we manage those positions and keep ourselves as safe as we can using our stop loss process. Okay, so I'm going to start off. Riding the waves that we're talking about today. As I say, it's been a pretty amazing ride for some of these miners there. Really is amazing what the gold price has been doing. So we'll have a look at some of those stocks today. We're going to go through most of the miners, but first I want to start off with the trend intensity ratings. Again, we've got Linus there at the top. It just keeps going from strength to strength. Generation Development Group. The Luca, which we talked about last week, it's jumped about 23% since I mentioned this last week. Sandfire, Decadata's now going quite nicely. Tabcorp, Liontown, APE still doing very well. ANZ has had a bit of a jump, and that's just talking about stocks like ANZ. We know there's been some sort of interesting PR after Shane left. There's a few fines there, which everyone got a bit of news on there, but it doesn't really matter in the bottom line for ANZ. It's like what it's heard from its new CEO, and the stock price is rallying higher, cutting costs and trying to focus on how the revenue streams are going to work. Has pleased the market, and that's been a great thing, and the share price has responded amazingly. We'll have a look at that a bit later on. And then, of course, there's Mineral Resources, which is also clawing back its huge losses from about $90, but it's well on the way up again at the moment. So it's been some good stocks there, and you can see a Luca there. That's not even updated from yesterday, I don't think. It closed a lot higher again, but it's been a great rally, and I'm going to have a little bit more look at that chart a bit later on. No, I haven't got it on the list there, so you can just see there it's going up on a nice volume. It was a bit of a late starter. We had a nice little trend reversal down there around just above $5. It's now up around $6.80 or $9, I think, at the moment, and looking pretty good. And you can see all the signals there. The moving average, price, high highs, high lows, volume and momentum are all on board there. So Luca's been a nice one, trend intensity rating of 10. Okay, now stock pick update. Well, we're down one this week. We just lost one stock this week. Not a lot of movement at all. We're pretty well set with a lot of our stocks at the moment. Remembering we can't get them all, we just get the ones that we've got from our defined portfolio, and I'll talk a bit about that later on. Keeping control of what you do is the most important thing, especially in these markets that go a bit crazy and you want to go for everything you possibly can, but you can't do that. You just need to focus on what you do, focus on how you do it, what your strategy is and what your trade plan is. So none in, one out this week, no movement really on the stock pick update. Portfolios again, well, they're going ahead pretty well at the moment. Conservative 11.1, steady as she goes. The Energizer is really kicked up above 19 now, which is a great move. We've got stocks like, in that 5-stock portfolio, stocks like Sigma, which has not moved much at all, Linus and Newmont, which are going gangbusters, and then PME and Worley, the other two, they're both fairly flat. So often with the portfolios, they're not all running at once. Even now when the market's going strongly, we still pick the stocks that come up, and we treat them as we treat all stocks, and some stocks will go well and we'll hold on to those stocks, and the ones that don't go well we'll get out of. So that's why some of those stocks aren't performing that well, but they're still holding at the moment, so we'll wait and see what happens there. The Energizer 10 is doing really well at 14.4, and the other two shorter Energizers that I started more recently are both knocking the lights out at the moment, really kicking some pretty good goals, with stocks like APA, Newmont, Qantas, Mineral Resources in there, and even Ampol has just joined the fray there as well. So interesting move there. The accumulation index is up 9.2%. CAGR over that period as well, so we're outperforming those pretty well at the moment. Okay, so that's the portfolios. They're doing really nicely for everybody at the moment. Anybody who's interested should contact me, or you can sign up on the website for the portfolio service. It's very simple to run, just like the simple process that I use for all my stock picks. There's no change there. It's just how I control those stocks that I manage from Stockradar. They're all the 160 stocks that we manage there. Okay, so we just do that in a smaller environment. Okay, so now let's go to some overseas markets. and look at the Dow Jones Industrial. Whoopsie, just 1 second there. Just lost that. Okay. Okay, so we now gone to there. Okay, so now we go to the Dow Jones and have a look at that. Now, again, the market's there. Overseas, we had a bit of a dip down last week, but they recovered again this week, so back up again it goes. So a bit of a worry there, but nothing really much happened. There's the Dow, the S&P the same, down, back up again. Nasdaq down, back up again. So again, we're in that situation where the market's still holding its trend. Volume's okay. I've noticed there has been a bit more selling in a couple of weeks recently, so there is some challenges there. But that's the healthy thing that I like to see, some selling and some buying. I don't want to just see it go one way. I like to see some sort of sense come into the market with a bit of selling there, just to keep everybody a little bit honest there. So although they're still trending up, there is a bit of selling appearing there, and you can see that there, a few red bars there in the last couple of weeks. So just keep an eye on that sort of stuff at the moment. But it's really, again, we always build evidence. We look for evidence to appear. As it grows, then we respond. If the price starts to come down, then that's a bit of concern, and we have stops in place on our stocks to make sure we don't get seriously hurt. Okay, now our market is also looking pretty good, bouncing pretty well. Again, we had a really strong performance from the banks at the moment again, and some of those iron ore stocks, some of the BHP, Rio, doing a bit better again. So, and of course, gold is kicking it along as well. We've got some big stocks there, Evolution, Northern Star, quite big stocks these days. So they're making a bit of an impression on this ASX 200 as well. So that looks okay. Then we go to gold, of course, and I think it was probably up again last night. It's just going bang busters. We're just seeing huge volumes here, huge rises here. Where it stops, nobody knows. Again, that's just to follow this one with your stops if you're in gold. But it looks fantastic. Everything's pointing upwards at the moment still. Copper, trying to recover a little bit more at the moment. Still not a lot of volume on my charts at the moment. Momentum just holding above the zero level, so the jury's still out there pretty well, although it's recovering the price, which is probably a good thing for some of our copper stocks, Sandfire, and the big ones like BHP. We've got a bit of copper there as well. So something like BHP with iron ore and copper there, it's getting a little bit more of a boost. So it's looking pretty interesting there. Rio, Fortescue, and BHP. So there's certainly ones to watch at the moment. Okay, then we go to Brent Crude, which again is doing very little. It's just apart from going down, as it has done for such a long time. Every rally it tries on is just really getting knocked on the head there. So it's not looking very good at all. Thus, Woodside, stocks like that are not doing so well at the moment. So we just stay away from those. Okay, now let's go into some resource stocks. Okay, now it's been a really interesting market. This one I'm going to show you through resource stocks. You can see why I'm in these stocks, how I've approached them. Some I've traded in once. I got out recently on some stocks, and we had a bit of a pullback a few month or two ago. But we're back on these because they make new highs. That's our strategy. That's how we play it. But there are also some stocks that are coming off some lows there, like a Luca, which we saw, Mineral Resources, which we saw, and now we can see Liontown here. Starting to make gains again. Slow started there, but again we've got this beautiful pattern occurring there. We've got this nice little bottom here, a few lows here around 50 cents. Then we started to get the market starting to rally. Then we started to get some really nice volume, which we want to see. All this evidence that we build as we go along, and we can also see the momentum index starting to move above zero. So all the stars are starting to align here, and then we get confirmation again. I'm really waiting for all the evidence to come to fruition. Momentum's actually usually last in these situations, but it's actually doing pretty well with this one here. Then I look for momentum, I look for volume, I look for move above the moving average, which is now here. The exponential moving average is now providing support for the price, which is a good sign. All these signs we look for. This gives us a trend intensity rating of 10. And then hello, this week we're having a nice little jump. It's jumped from about 96 in the low there up to about 180 where it closed. So had a very good move this week. So Liontown Resources finally seems to be finding some favour. But as we see here, we've got very nice buying coming across here, which really underpins the price move quite nicely. Okay, so Liontown's looking interesting. I did talk about ANZ Group before, which has been quite amazing, and we have been looking at the banks quite a bit lately, and we know the cycle lows right back down here, and the cycle high, which had just hit this week. It hasn't got through it. It can't hit it on a high. It's come back, but we're seeing a nice little move up. So for the last couple of weeks, it's gone from 32 to 36. which is a nice little move there. Tendency rating of 10. We've got some bit of volume through here. We had a bit of selling that came through this area here, but didn't really dent the price too much considering the gains we've made. So that was just a bit of a bout of selling again. Not a bad thing as far as I'm concerned, but we've also got momentum. And the moving average is also giving us positive signals. So, and the bias seemed to be back the last 3 weeks. So ANZ really is having a shot, like NAB is and like Westpac is, at those all-time highs, which we talked about the last couple of weeks, which is really a fascinating thing. If they do break through, well, it's very extraordinary because we've had some pretty good rises so far. They may not, they may come back. We have to wait and see. But for the moment, we're holding this one and we stay with it until told otherwise. So ANZ is looking okay. Now, back to the miners. Mineral resources, which I talked about. Okay, it's also looking pretty good. We've had this nice little reversal pattern here. We can see the highs up there at $90. It got back right down to about $17. Huge move down. But now, as we got out of this stock a long time ago, we're now getting back into it. We've had this little pattern here. We've had some really, really nice volume here building here. And this is a really nice message for anybody to see this. We've got a high low here. We've got great volume coming through here. It then passes through the moving average. And finally, we get momentum crossing above zero. So we get a nice trend reversal above this area here, which will now provide support, which is down around about $30. And it's now around $43, so it's starting to look pretty good. And so that's mineral resources, trend intensity rating at plus 10. Again, coming off a low base, plenty of ground to make up yet. Okay, Capricorn metals, another one, which we had a nice little trade in here for a while. Let me just blow this up here. It's made an all-time high back here in May of 24, April 24, and we had a nice little trend pattern here. It then came down quite sharply. We did protect here. We protected those gains. We turned neutral. We don't know what's going to happen from this point on, whether it's going to go down, sideways, or back up. It did go back up, so on the new high, we re-enter. That's how we always make sure we're simply on a trend. Okay, so that's a simple trend intensity rating for plus 9 here. Volume's okay, momentum's okay, it's above the average, higher highs, higher lows. The reason it's rating at 9 is because it's from last week, and we can see last week was a slightly down week, but we're back up again this week. If it holds these gains, it'll be back on a trend intensity rating of 10. So the simple trend, protect, break out to a new high, that's our strategy, that's how we play it. We never want to be carrying drawdowns. We never want to be caught in moves like perhaps mineral resources from $90 down to $17 ever, because they do happen. But we never know which they are, which ones are going to go up, which ones are going down. So that's our strategy. We ride the trends until told otherwise. Okay, so that's Capricorn Metals, which has done very well. Evolution Mining, a similar situation with Evolution Mining, where it had a nice rally here, broke to new highs, a beautiful rally. Then we protect the gains here. It didn't go much further. It went straight back up again. So we're back on this one when it broke to new highs again. So again, you can follow this move here. You can see this nice trend up here. Some nice volume went through here. Beautiful momentum, but then it started to stop here. The momentum started to kick down. We also got some selling in here, nothing really significant, but still the price did move down, and that's the most important thing for us, what the price does. Okay, the other stuff is all evidence that we support that with. The price is the most important, and when it goes against us by a certain percentage, we will always get out and wait for the further downward move, the sideways move, or the upward move. And in this instance, we've got an upward move back to new highs, so we're back on evolution at the moment. And hopefully we'll kick higher again today because the gold price went up again last night. Okay, so that's evolution for you, and that's how we're playing these ones. Just trying to give you an idea of my simple approach to all these sorts of stocks. Again, Genesis Minerals again, broke to new highs, had a beautiful trend, lovely volume all the way through here. Then we could see some selling hit the market. The price started to come down, which worried us, so we protect in this situation here and protect the gains that we have, stand aside and wait for things to happen, for the next signal to be given. And again, this made a new high, so off it goes again. So that's really just the simple strategy that Stockradar follows to make sure that we're always on an upward trend. Okay, so and we can see now the volume is kicking higher again. A big spike in volume here did push the price down there. Again, it held above our stop, which was good. So I'm not too sure what that was about, but it's certainly back on deck at the moment. Volumes are okay, and the price is moving higher again. So it's been a good one, Genesis Minerals. Okay, and then just a smaller one, which would be Westgold, which is more than what recently started covering this one. But again, it's a very simple picture of buying a new high, and we never know what's going to happen or who's going to happen. We get new highs in stocks and they don't go on. Okay, but when we do get them, this is where we make the money in a stock like this. So it's gone from a little bit. So if we would have got an entry on this bar here, we would have bought it on the open this bar here, which would have been around about 353. It is now 559. So the gains there in a few weeks have been extraordinary. Doesn't always happen, but we're making sure we're protecting these gains with our stop loss at the moment. And if you want to see where that is, you have to go and have a trial, subscribe to Stockradar and see where all my stops are and how I protect these gains, because I'm not really going to try and pick a top. I'm not interested in picking a top. I'm interested in making a profit from a trend like this, and that's what we do. Okay, so you can just see here, this has been a nice bit of volume, a nice bit of momentum. It's well above the average. Really, I'm not too concerned about this moment. It is good, but it's really where my stop is that matters most of all, to make sure I lock in the profit, like I did with Capricorn, like I did with Evolution, because we don't know what's going to happen subsequently if our stop goes off. So that's Westgold, and it's looking pretty good at the moment. Okay, so that's just a few stocks for you to have a look at. You can see what I've done, so you can see how I've got my members into some of these stocks and how they've run with them, and how it's been a fairly simple process to do that. Not forgetting stocks like Harvey Norman, ANZ, which we've looked at, Brambles, APE, because there's lots of other stocks outside of this metal sector. So we've always got to keep some sort of control and poise of what we do, and not forget about where we've made our money. So Harvey Norman here, we've had a couple of trades here in the last couple of years. We had one trade back here and started January 24. It then went flat for quite a few months before it broke higher again to new highs, and again kicked higher, broke to all-time highs, and kicked higher again, and some good volume there. If I just slow this back up a little bit, you can see some really good volume on this break here, which was great, and it's still holding there, so it's above our stop. So Harvey Norman's been a good one. It's still trend intensity rating of 10. And still holding very well. So there are plenty of other stocks besides those miners. There's a real excitement about miners, but we've got to be very, very careful what we do. So things like Newmont's been well, Linus has been good, and there's been a couple of other small stocks like MetalX, Capstone Copper. Another industrial has been Challenger, which is starting to do really nicely. So there's a few stocks there, a mix of stocks. Always keep control of what we do. There are always stocks moving, but don't forget your knitting, where some of those high yield stocks like Harvey Norman that are going well. It's been a great stock for us. So we've had some great entry points in a lot of stocks, but we always manage these positions with things like sense and sensibility, calm and poise, cool heads, cool decisions, whatever you like to say. You've got to make sure that you step back, take a deep breath, and just look at the reality of what's going on, because it's really important to do that and not get carried away with the moment, which we can do at the moment, and trying to shoot for everything, which you can't do. Okay, so that's Harvey Norman. The other one of the stock we're going to have a look at today is AGL, which we've talked about and followed for recently. But we can see here again, AGL, not a lot happening there, but the base is developing as to how we want. So sooner or later we will get a signal on this one, unless it makes new all-time lows here. But if it holds above here, it will start to make a reversal pattern and probably have a shot back up here at $12 and maybe beyond. We don't really know. But the development, the start of what's happening is a good sign. We've seen the volume kick up here. We're now seeing momentum start to flatten off as the price starts to make some gains. It's still below the average, so it's still trend intensity rating of -7, but it's still going to be an interesting one for us to follow and see what does happen there. Okay, so that's there are opportunities everywhere, but remember, control. Beware about the bias. Beware of your biases, emotions, and overconfidence. The three trading killers. Okay, so you've got to be careful of those things and make sure that you're in control. Clarity is extremely important. Perspective is extremely important. Okay, so must remember those things at the moment. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple of slides, just talking a little bit about what I do and how I do it, and it's fairly simple, really. Okay, so firstly, I get a signal. I've built my evidence. The volume's picked up, the price has turned around, it's moved above the average, and then I get a higher low, and then I get a trend reversal, or else I'm just getting a new high. but I make sure I always heed the signals that I get, because I have a defined portfolio size and defined database and a defined portfolio size. So I'm always getting control of what I'm doing, and I'm not going outside those rules or outside those stocks that I cover. In Stockradar, there's 160 stocks. If I'm running a portfolio, which is the top 100 stocks, and I take my picks from those stocks, and my portfolios are only five stocks or 10 stocks in content. But in those 5 stocks or in those 10 stocks, I am making maximum use of the capital that I have. Okay, so that's very important. So I'm always heeding all the signals that I get. I don't procrastinate or wonder or think about things that don't matter or are outside my trade plan. I just do it. The Nike motto, I keep saying to you before, the Nike motto, just do it, is a really important thing, a really good motto for me to use. So don't procrastinate, don't wonder, otherwise you will get left behind. Then you've got to ride the wave. Once you're in there, you've got to ride that wave, like some of those mining stocks, whether it's Harvey Norman, it's Capricorn Minerals, Evolution, whatever it is. You've got to ride that wave. When you see that momentum kick along the way, it's like a wave that just pushes prices higher and higher and higher, and then the momentum will start to drift and start to change. But during that wave, you're lifting your stop, whether it's West Gold, whatever it might be. You're just lifting the stop to lock in more profits, Luca, whatever it is. Okay, that's the important thing. Okay, when the waves start to ebbs, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the top of whatever you're looking for. The wave starts to ebb and gets back below your stop loss, then you get out. Okay, that's the most important thing, because a wave will come back, and the wave will go up, but it will slow down and will come back. So when the wave ebbs, and if it hits your stop, that's when you get out, and it is time to exit, take your profit and move on, because there are always other stocks coming up. Here we are at the moment with a huge wave of stocks coming up. It's happened before, it's happened last year, it's happened the year before that. There are always stocks doing it, and it will happen next year. Who knows, the health stocks might come back. There's all sorts of stocks that have, going through cycles and things like that we have to follow. So make sure when you have a stock in there, you make sure you heed your signals, and when it's time to get out and your stop goes off, it is time to exit. It really is that simple when you're trading, okay? So I don't worry about the fundamentals, I just worry about what the price action is doing. That is enough for me to be able to make good returns on what I do, okay? So that's really it. It's you can look at those slides again, but just go through those processes, those 4 or 5 steps that you follow to make sure you're on the right side of things. As my disclaimer. Okay, so really we're just talking about riding the wave today, and how do I do it? Well, you've seen how I do it, and you can see what my members get. So if you want to take a trial, if you want to subscribe, come along for the ride, and it should be a good ride. Okay, now what's happening in Stockradar? Well, the newsletter will be out. It's only the middle of the month, so we still got the newsletter from last month out there at the moment. So that's really about all I've got for you today. I just want to talk a little bit about overconfidence. Be careful, but ride the wave until it tells you otherwise. Okay, that's how you do it. This is a moment in time at the moment where there's a lot of money to be made. Okay, the whole thing about this market is that you simply can't get them all. Define your data list of sources, your prospects, and then limit your portfolios to a certain size. 5 or 10 is all you need, but make sure you have optimal use of your capital. So if you have 5 stocks, make sure all your capital is being used in those 5 stocks. Okay, to make sure you're going to get those returns that we want. In this way, you will still achieve your goals and successfully compete in this market without sending yourself crazy. You are controlling everything. Okay, each step along the way, you know what to do. You know what's next, and it'll just make life easier for you. Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you. It's all about controlling what you do and not letting the market control you. And these sorts of times, it can very much grab you by the balls and take you away into places that you don't want to go. So just keep control of what you're doing. That's the most important thing. Okay, I think I've gone on enough about that. I think you understand what I'm talking about, where I'm coming from today. So it's time to take a rest today. Melbourne's some great weather this day, so I'm going to go and have a swim now and feel good and see what happens in the market today. But watch for you. Make sure you watch your trends, heed your stops, keep it simple, have fun, stay safe, and I'll see you all next week. Thanks very much.